Alrighty, hello and welcome to the Couch Warrior Podcast, episode 19. I'm your host, Mike, and today's been really stressful. We just went through some technical difficulties. This is the second attempt to stream. I hope that people come in here soon because I just spent 10 minutes streaming, talking, and it turned out that nobody could hear anything. So I'm really stressed out. I'm hoping that this is going to work this time around, and let's see what happens, right? I really don't know what else to do other than to keep trying for now. My Wi-Fi has been really stressful, but let's see what we can do. So I really wish there was a way to test my audio now and see if it was actually working or not. But anyways, yeah, I really don't want to do this if it's not going to be working. It's so whack when that happens. Man, I don't know what to do. All right, well, I'm going to just start breaking down the fights, and then hopefully someone will come in here and tell me if it's working or not. And if it's still not working, then I'm going to have to cut the podcast for today, try to fix it, and then come back tomorrow. So let's get into it. So for this first fight, we've got Joselyne Edwards versus Ramona Pascual. Edwards is 10-4-0. She's 26 years old, 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. And she is normally training out of King's MMA, but she is now at Extreme. Oh my God, no, she's not. She's somewhere in Vegas. I don't exactly know where. She looks like she's gym hopping over there. On the other side, you've got Ramona Pascual. She's 6'3-0, 33 years old, 5'7", with a 66.1-inch reach, and she is currently training out of Syndicate MMA. I'm going to quickly post on Twitter asking for somebody to come in here and let me know if I'm wasting my time or not, because this sucks right now. All right. Well, back to the okay. Jorge Sandoval is in the chat and he's saying it's working. Whew. I was getting really stressed out. All right. Well, that makes everything better. So now we can break down the fight again. I'm going to have to go quicker than last time because I really hate repeating myself, but no one heard me. So anyways, this is a striker versus a grappler fight where the grappler isn't very good, in my opinion. Long story short, I went on a bit of a rant. No one can hear me. That's probably for the best. I don't think Pascual's any good at all. I think she's being overhyped because she looked meh against a 5'2", 145 her in Nunes. I honestly don't understand it. People are almost getting angry at me for being on the Edwards side and for saying that the fight could finish in the distance. And all right, you want to get pissed at me for my picks, get pissed at me for my picks, but it's my pick. I do think Edwards beats her everywhere. Not everywhere. Edwards is not better on the ground, but what I mean is that Pascual isn't that good at wrestling. Her head is in the wrong place. Instead of being on the side to allow her to push and use the pressure and momentum, she's putting her head in between the legs. And that's just not how you do it. And it's not like she was holding down Nunes for long periods of time either. She was finding moderate success at best. The striking, Nunes was beating her and she's 5'2", small reach. Now she's fighting somebody who's bigger than her. Joselyne Edwards has a 70-inch reach. She's 5'8". She might be going up a weight class, but that doesn't really mean much to me here. She if she's got the bigger frame, she's going to be the bigger woman. As long as Pascual can't hold her down, which I do not think that she can hold her down, I think that Edwards is going to win this fight. It's probably by decision, but I'm betting the fight doesn't go. It's plus 155. I threw a half unit on it. Like I mentioned before, when literally nobody could hear me, Pascual has gone to decision 2 of 9 times. Edwards has been to decision 5 out of 14 fights, right? So both of these women finish or are finished more so than they go to the distance. And I think that's going to be live here as well. Pascual, very defensively not sound, liable, keeps her head pretty much open. Her strikes are all loopy, so a straight strike will go right through the guard. And she just gets pieced up. Again, if you're getting pieced up by someone as small as Nunes, I really can't imagine what it's going to look like when someone bigger is going to be fighting you and someone who throws straight strikes rather than hooks. Nunes also is very hook power heavy. That's not the story with Edwards. Edwards is going to be throwing straight strikes down the pipe. And I think it's going to be landing all day on Pascual. I think the Pascual's live for a finish herself, maybe with ground and pound, maybe in the clinch with elbows and knees. I think those are her best bets to win this fight. But I do think that Edwards wins. You know what? Lou is right. What kind of hat is that? Oh, I just scared the shit out of my cat. I blame you, Lou. That's your fault. That's better. Honestly, this feels right. Thank you, Lou. Honestly, I was probably going to give you guys all bad picks, but now it should be good. Yeah, so give me Joselyne Edwards to win this fight. I think she can finish. Lou is one of those people who thinks I'm a psycho for this, but I am a psycho, just for other reasons, in my opinion. But yeah, give me Edwards. I will admit the odds now are too wide. It's like minus 160-ish. That's too wide. I played Edwards at minus 135 or something like that, and I like that. And I do like the fight doesn't go. I think that's being overlooked a little bit because everyone's focusing on Juarez versus Liang not going the distance, which I also think is the spot. But we'll talk about that in a moment. So yeah, let's move on. All right. And I do want to give a shout out to Uncle Weezy. I am using his stats today because I didn't get a chance to put together my own. He does put them out underneath his Stats Diggers video over on Pub Sports, and he kills it. So definitely suggest checking that out if you haven't already. So for this fight, we've got Silvana Gomez Juarez versus Liang. Juarez is 10-4-0. She's 37 years old, which is something I want to talk about. 5'3" tall, 63-inch reach, and she's training out of Entram Gym. And on the other side, Liang, 19-5-0. She's only 25 years old with 24 fights, which is incredible. 5'5", 67 point. All right, I'm just gonna say 67-inch reach. Topology gets unnecessarily particular with that 67.3. But you've got, and she's training out of. Honestly, I couldn't really tell. I'm gonna go with Longyun MMA as it says on Tapology because when I can't see it on Instagram, that's what I got to go with. So this one's really interesting too, but I'm going to start with I don't get why Juarez opened as a favorite. I'm not sure what she's shown us. I feel like her opening as a favorite is more so the bookies fading Liang than them thinking that Juarez should be the favorite. Because I don't really see what you can like. How can you look at her fights and be like, yeah, she should be minus 150 or whatever she is at, or she was like, I don't think that's like, I think it's way too wide. So Juarez, she came into the UFC. She fought Lupi Godinez. I think it was short notice. I actually bet her there because the odds were wild. I wasn't sold on Lupi, and I thought that Juarez had good striking based on her regional footage. And she showed later on against Vanessa Demopoulos that her striking's all right and that she can carry power. Which, for this weight class, it's impressive to have the kind of power that she showed. But she's just so sloppy. She doesn't really do anything that great. Her takedown defense, like, not very good. She was getting taken down in the regionals too. And I mean, like, getting taken down by Lupi, that's one thing. But in the regionals, that's another story. She's a bit flat-footed. She's just got that big right hand. Her output's pretty low. She's sitting into that right hand. The jab is decent when she's using it. The leg kicks are decent. But like I said, she gets a little bit sloppy. Liang on the other side, I think everyone agrees that she's the technically the better fighter here. I think where everybody's concerned and where they think it might be fair that Juarez is the favorite is the cardio, right? Liang has terrible cardio. I'll say this. In the past, she's always had bad cardio, right? She's always been boom or bust, early or bust. That hasn't changed. But I will say this. I do think that she's 25. So she's rapidly changing and improving. And I do think that she's going to start calming down. And I also want to point out that it was her debut. And not only that, it wasn't just her UFC debut. And it wasn't just a big card, especially for fighters fighting out of China. That was a big showcase card for them, even though they didn't do so well. But you got to understand how much pressure that was. It was also the first card back live. It was the first time that we had fans since COVID hit. So it was a huge event. It was big pressure. And then when they started so strong. The crowd went wild. They wanted to please them. They kept going. And then you saw Na Liang tire out so much that Song Yadong, who was in her corner, he picked her up and dragged her back so the ref wouldn't stop the fight. Because if you just sit there when the rounds are over, they're going to stop the fight. So, look, I think that Na Liang has the better striking, although it's probably close. It's not like a huge deficit. She is bigger, longer. I think she's going to be able to use that reach. She does use that well when she's striking. But she's going to be looking to close the distance and get those takedowns, just like she did with Carnelossi. And I think she's going to get them. And then from there, I really just think it's going to be her game. She's got a ton of subs on her record. I'll go over it real quick. She's got 10 submission wins, 2 sub losses, 9 KO wins, 2 KO losses. And then Juarez, 5 KO wins, 1 loss by KO, and then 2 sub losses, 2 sub wins. So I do think the sub is live for Liang, but the odds don't make it worth hitting, in my opinion. It's like plus 200 or 200 something. I don't think that's worth it. I'm an idiot, and I played Na Liang inside the distance when I had already played her money line, and it didn't click in my head that I literally got better odds money line. So if you're seeing this, feel free to say it with me. Mike, you're an idiot. But it's okay. It happens, right? But yeah, don't do that. Just play her money line if you're going to bet her, even though she does probably win inside the distance if she wins. Look, in my opinion, Na Liang is the better grappler. I think she's also the better striker, although it's a little bit hard to tell with the footage that we have. Juarez did show in her last fight with Demopoulos that she carries big power, especially in that right hand. But look, just a right hand isn't going to get you far, and knocking down somebody like Demopoulos, who's very small and in my opinion not that great, also doesn't tell me much. And then she still lost, right? She still got armbarred and lost. You know who Juarez reminded me of when I was watching the tape? She reminded me of Emily Whitmire, who literally, I think it was three armbars in a row, and then she got cut. Like, those are the vibes I've been getting from Juarez. Even when she's winning, she still gets armbarred. So I do think Liang wins this fight. I have 2 units on her money line. I have half a unit on her inside the distance because I'm a dummy. And I am going to be parlaying that fight doesn't go the distance. It's like minus 260 right now, and I think that's fantastic. Right now it's not out on most books. It's only on Bet Online. So, and you can't parlay props there. So I'm going to have to wait. I'm going to wait till other books have it. And then I do plan on parlaying that because I really don't see this fight going the distance. Liang's been to decision 1 time. In 24 fights, she's been to decision 1 time. That's madness. So yeah, give me Na Liang, but in particular, give me the fight doesn't go. Violence all day here. That's what I'm expecting. All right. So next up, we have got. Oh no! Did I just close their thing by accident? 1 second. Pulling up my notes. Back up. All righty. So here we've got Kang versus Danaa Batgerel. I think I'm finally saying his name right. So let's go. Kang, he is 17, 9, and 0, 34 years old, 5'9" with a 73-inch reach, and he's training at a Busan team. And then on the other side, Danaa Batgerel, 12, 3, and 0, 32 years old, 5'7", 70-inch reach, and he is not currently at Jackson Wink, but even better, he's at my old-time favorite camp, not Sanford, that's just my current favorite camp, Tiger Muay Thai. So I think that's really good. Although I do question if he really needed to go there I think his deficiencies in the grappling right now. So I'm not sure if that was the right place, but they do have good defensive grappling, counter grappling. So it could be a good spot. Let's see what happens, right? But in terms of breaking down this fight, I just don't really see it for Danaa Batgerel. I don't see why he should be a favorite here. His striking's good, right? He's got big power shots, but he can be loopy. He can be a little sloppy. His output's good and the combos are good, but he leaves himself open when he's going for these hooks. It's a lot of hooks, very hook heavy. I feel like his striking defense isn't that great, and I can't really put my finger on it, but he kind of does this thing where he's like moving in weird ways, and I feel like it's leaving his head open just to get hit. So I really do feel like that could be a bit problematic for him in this fight. Pulling up his numbers real quick. Yeah, striking defense sitting at 56.64. Like, that's not bad. It's not bad, but I don't know. Something about the way he moves his head just suggests to me that he might be liable to get hurt. We haven't really seen it other than the Gutierrez knockout, which I think is already telling because that didn't hit that hard. So I'm just curious what's going to happen as he gets more, as he gets tougher opponents, right? So you look at the guys he KO'd, right? He KO'd Brandon Davis, who's decent, but like not that crazy. Davis did go to a split with Kang, but if you look at MMA decisions, like it was only that judge who thought that was the case. So, and then who did he knock out? He knocked out Canetti. He knocked out Davis, like I just said, and he knocked out Kevin Natividad. I believe that Kyung Ho Kang is better than every single one of those guys that I just listed. I think that his striking is good. He's got a good jab. He does good work on the feet. He's the bigger man here. He's got a 3-inch reach advantage, which I think is going to come in handy with that jab. He's going to be able to hit him from a distance. He's going to make it difficult to come in and hit him with those hooks that Danaa usually knocks people out with. And I also think that the grappling is going to be a big thing here. You look at Danaa Bakari's record in the UFC, and the one fight he lost against Alatang Haley, he got grappled. And since then, no one's really shot on him. No one's attempted to grapple him. So we haven't seen that tested. But the one time that it did get tested, he lost. And he lost exchanges on the feet there too. So it wasn't just the grappling. Kyung Ho Kang, he's got the grappling, and I think he can strike with him too on the feet. I don't think there's some kind of striking deficiency here. I really don't. I think that Kang can also put together good output, good combos. He's got, like I said, a great jab. He's very slick sometimes with the combinations. The hooks, like I mentioned, and the striking defense is pretty good. He's moving his head. He's keeping himself defensively responsible. And you look at his record, he's got 9 sub wins, only 1 sub loss, and he's only been KO'd once, and that was with a freaking soccer kick, all right? There's no soccer kicks in the UFC, not even when my boy Peter Yan's fighting. No one's throwing soccer kicks. So I don't think that he's going to get soccer kick KO'd here unless Danaa Bakary wants to get DQ'd. And is he going to get KO'd with a classic Danaa Bakary hook? I doubt it. I really doubt it. The way I see this going down is I see a decently close fight on the feet, but I think that any time that Kang decides to shoot, I think he's going to be able to get the takedown. I think he's going to be able to get the control. And I wouldn't be shocked if he threw in a sub and got a sub, even though Danaa Bakary has never been submitted. I wouldn't be shocked, but I do think that a decision win for Kyung Ho Kang is more likely. So I did play him at, let me pull it up. I played him for 2 units at plus 129. He currently sits at, let's see, you can get him for plus 128 on FanDuel still. That's by far the best odds left. So if you do like him, I do suggest going there ASAP because most other books have him at like plus 115, plus 111, and the such. So the pick is Kyung Ho Kang, and we're going to move right along. A lot of dogs for me this week, and I think for a lot of people, which makes me a little nervous, but hopefully we'll all make bread then, right? So to the 3 people watching, thank you very much. Cheers. Let's kill it this weekend, right? Also, please let me know if my Wi-Fi decides to bug out again. It gave me some serious problems earlier, so just let me know if it stops working, and I'll start breaking stuff. All right. Now, here we got Jake Matthews versus Andre Fialho. Matthews is 17-5-0. He's 27 years old, 5'11" with a 72-inch reach, and he's currently training at a Focus Fitness, not the camp that Tapology has up there. And on the other side, you got Andre Fialho, who's 16-4-0, 20 years old, 6 feet tall with a 74-inch reach, and he's training out of my current favorite camp, Sanford MMA. So you look at this fight, and just like many other fights on this card, it's as classic as it can get. Grappler versus striker. Fialho has been on a bit of a tear. A lot of people love him right now because he got, 2 knockouts in a row. Knocked out Miguel Beza in the first round, and then he knocked out Cameron Van Camp in the first round. But I feel like people are just looking at it and then just closing their eyes to everything else and being like, all right, KO. He's going to KO Jake. That's it. But there's nuances to every single fight that you have to pay attention to, and you can't just assume that the same result is going to keep occurring and occurring. And what has Jake Matthews shown that people think he's going to get KO'd like that? I'm not sure what he's shown. He lost to Sean Brady by submission. Like, he's beaten guys like the Leech. He's not some guy who doesn't belong in the UFC. Yeah, the guys he's beaten aren't the best, but he's been getting the job done. So the way I see this playing out is Fialho's definitely got the advantage on the feet. That's without a doubt. Without a doubt. He's extremely slick, good combos. He keeps it really tight, which I think is important. Big hooks, big power. But something I noticed is he essentially doesn't throw any kicks. Almost none at all. Like, I was watching the Pereira fight, nothing. Beza, nothing. Even Van Camp, it was pretty much all strikes. Speaking of Van Camp, I think it's also important to note that he's not invincible. Fialho literally got chin checked by Cameron Van Camp, who we all counted out. That fight could have gone very differently if you run it back 10 times with that kind of thing going. So just things to keep in mind. And Jake Matthews isn't completely out of, like, he can strike too. He's not a fish out of water here. He can strike on the feet. His numbers aren't terrible. Let's pull up Uncle Weezy's stats right here, huh? Let's check it out. So we're going to go to the striking stats. Let's see. Still learning how to use his stuff. He's very Weezy's legit. So I believe this is strikes landed per minute. No. Okay. So I can't really put together these stats that well. But striking accuracy for Jake Matthews, 44%. Fialho, 43%. Striking defense for Fialho, sitting at 48%. While for Matthews, over a much larger sample size of fights, we're talking 15 UFC fights for Jake Matthews now, even at the age of 27, which is very impressive. He's got a striking defense of 61.79%. So that's definitely something to think about here. And his takedowns, he's got a very legit grappling game. Does Jake Matthews. He's averaging 1.93 takedowns per 15 minutes. He's getting them at a 41.51% clip. And he's got 30% control time for. So he's getting his opponents down. He's controlling them. And Fialho has shown holes in that game. We haven't seen it tested much in the UFC. Michel Pereira was able to take him down, although he was not able to control him. But you look back to his fight in the LFA 2 years back, right, against Santos. I bet on Santos in that fight. Not because I thought he'd grapple him, but he was able to grapple him. In round 3, Andre Fialho lost the fight because he allowed himself to get grappled. He couldn't get up. He got stuck on bottom, and at one point he was almost like this, just laying there. Just kind of laying there. So all that suggests to me that if Fialho can't finish Matthews on the feet, I think Matthews wins this thing. I think he takes Fialho down. I think he controls him. I think he probably gets the decision, but I also think it's worth looking at the KO. I threw 0.3 units at the KO prop sitting at plus 1100. And, like, why not? You look at the numbers, right? So Jake Matthews, he only has 2 KO wins, right? We've been KO'd once himself, 2 KO wins, and 7 submission wins. So it would suggest that if you're going to bet him with a finish, bet him by sub. But look, I'm one of the believers of ground and pound is always there too. If you got a grappler who's usually hitting subs but can also hold top control and let it rip from top, sometimes, in my opinion, the KO prop is worth looking at. Great example, Chase Hooper against whoever he just fought. I'm blanking now. I'm not going to waste time. But we all saw that round 3 KO from a guy who almost always gets subs because ground and pound is always there. So for plus 1100, Jake Matthews KO, I love it. Not expecting him to get a KO on the feet, not even close. But TKO, ground and pound, telling me 11-1. Let's ride. And then I'm also a psycho, so I took a round 3 KO sprinkle at plus 3,500. But that's irresponsible. Don't do that unless you like to have fun. But yeah, I think this is classic striker versus grappler, and I do expect Jake Matthews to win. I think what it comes down to is Matthews is a better striker than Fialho is a grappler. You get what I mean? In the feet, I think that Matthews won't be too far behind, whereas on the ground, I think Fialho is going to be significantly behind. So I think that as long as Jake Matthews can survive round 1, he can survive those exchanges on the feet. And I think something important is he cannot let himself get backed up. Something Fialho does very well is he cuts the cage really nicely. And what cutting the cage means is moving in a way that you're giving your opponent less and less space. So they'll move forward and they'll slowly cut the cage every time their opponent tries to move to make that space much smaller. And once you get them in a small amount of space, you can start letting it rip. You can let those hooks go. You can let the combinations go because they have nowhere to go. They have nowhere to run. So Matthews has to make sure not to get trapped like that because that's where Fialho finds success. That's where he found success with Michel Pereira as well. So as long as he can avoid something like that, as long as he can get his takedowns, as long as he can assert the control, I do think this is Jake Matthews' fight to lose. So him being the underdog, you got to, in my opinion, you've got to play it. I took a 2-unit play on him at plus 125. I think it'll be relatively close, but I think he's just an all-around better fighter. I think that the current line reflects recency bias. I think it reflects Fialho's current run and everybody loving him. You know, he's this badass. He's coming in on short notice. He asks for fight after fight after fight. It's all great and dandy. But at the end of the day, you got to look at who he's fighting. And I do think that Matthews has all the tools he needs to win this fight. So we'll move right along. All right. This next one is another one that I was torn with. So we've got, all right. I'll say this right now. I do my best with pronunciations. I mean, no disrespect if I mess up anything. But for this fight, we've got Hayisaer Maheshate versus Steve Garcia. I really hope I got Maheshate's name right. I'm going to do my best, but I really hope I got it right. And Steve Garcia's a little bit easier for me. So Maheshate, 6-1-0, 22 years old, which is nuts. He's literally younger than me. 6 feet tall with a 71.5-inch reach. And Tapology has him training out of Enbo, but I'll tell you, it appears that he's been at the UFC PI for quite a bit. Now, whether that's the one in China or the one here in Vegas, I'm not positive. Although it appears to be the Vegas one, I'm not exactly sure. And Garcia on the other side, 30 years old, 12-4-0, 6 feet tall as well, 73-inch reach, and he is still at Jackson Wink MMA, which is a great camp for a guy like him, in my opinion. So I went into this fight, and I was like, I'm going to bet Maheshate. I bet against him on the Contender Series. I was proven wrong. And I honestly remembered him being a bit better than he looks now that I'm rewatching it, right? So you watch the tape, and for Maheshate, his strikes are pretty good. Good step and jab, good clinch knees, good hooks, good front kick. Uses the elbow nice and slick. The output could use some help. The knees are good. The kicks are good, body kicks. I like that he's very creative with the strikes. That said, defensively, I feel that he can be a bit liable. I think he can be a bit hittable. He'll often leave his head up as well. And I do think that he struggles a bit when he's on his back foot. As for grappling, he doesn't have much of a grappling game. And something that is going to be relevant here, which you'll hear talked about over and over and over again if you're watching more than one handicapping show, which I do suggest everybody does. Should always listen to a bunch of voices on the subject, not just one. But if you watch them, you'll be hearing about the grappling here and the lack of defensive grappling on the side of Maheshate. We only really have one video, for example, there. It's his professional debut, so we have to do it with a grain of salt. It was against a Russian, a small one at that, a guy who was quite a bit smaller than Maheshate was. But he was getting taken down. He was able to get up a lot of the time, but he kept getting taken down, and he just couldn't stay on the feet. And if Steve Garcia decides to wrestle here, I think it's going to be a wrap. Rick James, that is an amazing choice. Burt MMA is the other handicapper that he watches. Burt kills it. Burt absolutely kills it. And a lot of us actually watch his stuff just to learn how to pronounce things. So that guy's an absolute beast, and he's so young. I feel like he's the future John Anik. So good for Burt MMA. Great show on YouTube. So back to this fight, though. I do think that Steve Garcia's got the grappling edge that he needs. As long as he decides to grapple, this is going to be light work for him. But here's the thing. I don't think he has to. I don't even think he has to. I think that his striking is actually a bit underrated. And I was watching it, and I was pretty impressed. I like his jab a lot. He'll double, triple up on that jab, and he'll keep using it to open up that guard so that he can let go of combo. He can throw in a 1-2. One thing I wanted to note is he does get a little bit sloppy sometimes, but also the hand speed is another thing. Great hand speed. The striking defense, look, it's all right. He does get hit a bit too much for my liking, but let's see. Let's pull up the numbers real quick. Yeah, so striking defense, like I mentioned, 43%. It could be better. But another thing I want to point out, in his last fight, Ontiveros, like, yeah, we give Ontiveros a lot of crap. He's not the best guy, but the weapons and the threats that he showed, I don't think that Maheshate has those. Those kicks, that power that Ontiveros had, like it or not, I don't think that Maheshate has it. I don't. So I expect Garcia to be better everywhere here, to be completely honest. But I think that his easiest path is just to grapple, and he can win the fight that way without really stressing it out. But I think that he can also succeed on the feet because he is. If you look at his record, it appears he's primarily a striker. 8 KO wins, never been KO'd himself, 0 submission wins. But for somebody who can grapple as well as he can, that's pretty surprising. So I do like Steve Garcia to win this fight. He's a -170 favorite, which isn't my favorite thing in the world, but I do have him parlayed up a little bit. I'll go over it later at the end of the card, but it's a total 2-unit stake on Steve Garcia parlayed. And we'll move right along. All righty. This is one where my confidence has waned as the week has gone on for sure. So, for this one, we've got Seung Choi versus Joshua Culibao. Seung Choi is 10-4-0, 29 years old, 6 feet tall with a 74.5-inch reach. And let's see if that topology is correct. No, I have him currently training out of Box Train Seoul, so not the one that topology has listed. And on the other side with Culibao, we got 9-1-1, that draw being with Jourdain, which looks fantastic now. 28 years old, excuse me, 5'10", 73-inch reach, and he trains out of Igor MMA. I was able to double check that, and that is still where he appears to be. So this one's interesting because I went into it thinking that Seung Choi was going to walk here, and now after watching the tape, I no longer think so. I do think he's still the rightful favorite. I think that a lot of the hesitance that a lot of us are having comes from his performance against Caceres. But look, he looked pretty good against Caceres. He just got hit with that Caceres grappling and pressure. Caceres went on quite a bit of a run before losing to Sadiq Youssef, who he also outstruck, by the way, by 1 strike. So I don't think necessarily because he lost to him, we should be like, oh, he's not that good. He finished Arosa. Arosa's no slouch. I'm high on Arosa. Arosa after that went on to beat Jourdain and then went on to beat Steven Peterson in an absolute war, which was a lot of fun. But I do think this is going to be a fight on the feet. Neither of these guys really grapples. If anyone does, I think it might be Seung Choi. We did see him do it with guys like Yusuf Zalal and with some success. But I think this is mostly going to be on the feet. And because of that, I think it's going to be a super close fight, which is why I think the line is pretty wide. So you look at Culibao, and right away, I really liked his 1-2. He uses his length really well. He's pretty fast, and he keeps everything very straight. He's got a good jab as well. He sits into it really nicely, which I think is very important if you want to have power in that jab. Someone who does that really great. Look at Usman. Look at Usman against Burns. That he sat into that jab and knocked him out with it. Culibao has some low-key power. If I remember correctly, he knocked down Jourdain. He's got a good front kick, and like I mentioned, good straight strikes. Striking defense-wise, he moves well, but he kind of keeps his hands low, which is a concern for me personally. Pulling up his numbers real quick, his striking defense is sitting at 54%, which is significantly better than Seung Choi's 43%. So he's got that going for him. In terms of defensive grappling, in case Seung Choi does choose to wrestle, he did hold up pretty good against Nurdenbike in his last fight. I do think that Nurdenbike is a very, very, very one-dimensional fighter, and because of that, it was easy to expect the takedown, get through that, and then no longer have to worry about it once Nurdenbike wasn't able to do it anymore. But I think that Seung Choi can mix it up a bit better than Nurdenbike could have. Now, On the side of Seung Choi, his striking also really good. I was watching it, and honestly, it was better than I even remembered. The hooks are great, just a bit loopy. The hand speed is really good. 1-2 is very solid. Great kicks, great combos. I like that he doesn't really throw one shot at a time. And the left hook to a right cross combination is really nice. I really like that one a lot. The striking defense, like I mentioned, 43%, not too great. You do see him trying to move out of the way of shots pretty well. So maybe that number will improve as time goes on and he improves. But right now, that does leave much to be desired. And I do think that could be an issue in this fight because Culibao does have deceptive power that you don't expect. I was looking at the fight doesn't go, but it's like minus 200. I really don't know about that. I kind of see this going to a decision. I think it's going to be a fun fight, a close fight. I do still think that Seung Choi wins this fight. I think that he's the better, more rounded fighter with the higher ceiling and who's faced a much better competition. I mean, you look at his records, you got Movsar Evloev on there. You got some tough guys on there. So I do think that all around he's probably the better fighter here. And I do think he wins the fight. I've got 1.6 units parlayed on him. But like I said, I do think the line is wide. And I can't blame anybody on the Culibao side either. I think that either one could be a solid bet here. Like I said, the value's probably not on Choi. But I do think he wins the fight. So we'll move on now. This next one's where I really don't understand the dog love. Like, I really don't get it at all. At all. All right. So for this one, we've got... I'll say this first real quick. I am a little biased. I like Brendan Allen a lot. I always have. I've been a big fan since he first came to the UFC. But I don't think my bias is really changing much in this. So Brendan Allen versus Jake Malkoun. Brendan Allen is 18-5-0. He's 26 years old, so super young as well. But so is Malkoun. Allen is 6'2" with a 75-inch reach, and he also trains out of my current favorite camp, Stanford MMA. On the other side, you got Malkoun, 6'1-0, 26 years old, 5'9" with 73-inch reach. And for his gym, I've got him at uno momento. So I've got him at, sorry, blanked for a second. PMA Super Martial Arts. I know he's a buddy of Robert Whitaker. I don't know if they're still training together. A lot of his Instagram pictures are, it appears that he's at a grappling gym. So not positive exactly where he's training right now, but hopefully he's with Whitaker for his own sake and improving. He's 26 years old, so he's got plenty of space to improve just like Brendan Allen does. Now, look, this really comes down to me is how does Malkoun win? I am going to be hedging him by decision only because I'm like super extended. I didn't even realize I counted it. I'm like 5 units deep on Brendan Allen with money line and parlays combined. So I am going to have to hedge. If you know me, that's kind of what I do. But I just don't see how Malkoun wins, man. I really don't. Striking, who's better? Brendan Allen's the better striker. There's no doubt in my mind. Malkoun's not that great on the feet. I will admit he has decent 1-2 and decent striking in his last fight. It was a little surprising. It looked better than I thought, but it's still not very good. And that win doesn't impress me either. Like, I know a lot of people were super high on Dobson. He's got this crazy power, super power, whatever. But the guy's very green. Dobson's very green, in my opinion. So a win like that over him doesn't really tell me much. And then the win before that, Abdul-Razak Alhassan, it was super impressive because he came in as a huge dog. And Alhassan carries this crazy KO power. But realistically, Alhassan has like no cardio. You take that guy out of the first round and that's it. You ground him, put him on the ground. He doesn't have that power. He can't beat you. Brendan Allen, on the other hand, put him on the ground. He's going to scramble. He's going to put you in danger. He's not going to let you just lay on him. That's never going to happen. He was controlled by guys like Kyle Dawkins, but even then he was scrambling. Even then he was able to get up. Like, I think people are underrating Allen a bit and overrating Malkoun. I know a lot of people like to dog on Allen because of his fight IQ. 2 times he's cost us money when he decided to strike with Sean Strickland and when he decided to strike with Chris Curtis. And I get it. I do get it. But look, even if he has that IQ lapse here and he decides that I want to strike, is he going to get knocked out by Malkoun? I really, really don't think so. I'd be shocked if Malkoun knocked him out on the feet. I'd be very shocked. Maybe he's got that power we haven't seen yet because he grapples, but I really don't think so. So I think Brendan Allen wins this fight. I want to say by submission. The guy's got, what is it? 10 submission wins. Malkoun, though, never been submitted. The only reason I'm kind of hesitant to play the sub rather than the inside the distance is, which I do think I did play his inside the distance prop. Let me just double check. Yeah, I did. It was plus 105, and I played it for a half unit. And I sprinkled the sub for 0.1 unit just a little bit to add just a bump to my odds. But the reason I'm hesitant on the sub is that Malkoun's allegedly a good grappler in terms of BJJ. We know he's a good wrestler. But grappling, we haven't really seen it. The BJJ, we haven't seen it. He's a brown belt. I've heard things such as that he's Whitaker's BJJ coach. I've never seen that confirmed, so I'm not going to go with that, but I've heard it. So maybe Allen can't sub him, but I think that if Allen's on top and he's not able to get that sub, he's just going to ground and pound him. And then on the feet, I think Allen can also finish him. Like Allen, yeah, he's been falling in love with the hands, and we kind of don't love that. But we don't love that when he's fighting strikers. He's fighting a grappler, so I feel like he should be fine if he decides to stay on the feet. Now, minus 300. All right. Now, we're getting a little crazy. But I think it's warranted. I think it's warranted because I don't see how Malkoun wins. And I think that underdogs need a path if you're going to bet them. I guess if you're going to bet Malkoun, the decision could be good. I know that my boy Lou was saying on 5 dimes it was plus 750. I saw on Bet Online it's plus 600. I would wait. If you want to do Malkoun by decision. I think you're going to get better odds on other books like FanDuel once they drop. And I can't blame anyone for wanting something like that, plus 750. It makes sense to I guess it could hit, right? But I just really don't see the path for Malkoun. I think Allen is better everywhere. So I do think that this is Brendan Allen's fight to lose. I've got 5 units staked on him total. I got a money line at minus 220. I bet 2.2 units there to win 1. And then I've got him parlayed in a bunch of parlays that I'll read off to you guys when the show completes. So let's move right along. This is another one with pretty interesting odds and line movement going on. So here you got Jack Della Maddalena versus Ramazan Emeev. So Jack is 11-2-0. He's 25 years old, 5'11", with a 73-inch reach. And he is training out of, let me see what we got. Scrappy MMA is where Jack trains out of. And then Ramazan Emeev on the other side, 25-0. He's 35 years old, which actually is a bit older than I thought. So Jack is 10 years younger here. Emeev is 5'10" with a 68.5-inch reach. So he's also given up about 4 inches of reach to Jack. And training-wise, I believe it's Goretz still, but I can't get a name confirmation from his Instagram. I can just confirm that he is training in Dagestan. So sure, he's getting his usual looks there, good wrestling looks. I just feel like he should be out here in America training his striking, in my opinion, for Emeev. I just feel like Emeev is lacking on the striking department, and I think it's been costing him. You look at his last fight with Roberts. I'll start. I think Roberts lost, and I think Emeev won that fight. But I also had money on Emeev, so I could be biased, and I try not to put too much into that. So this, once again, in my opinion, is a striker versus grappler fight. But again, like I mentioned earlier with the Jake Matthews fight, I think that Maddalena's a better striker. I mean, a better grappler than Emeev is a striker, right? So you look at Emeev striking, very low output. He's got a nice left hook. The jab's just okay. And he's just, in my opinion, he's a classic wrestle boxer, particularly a classic Dagestani wrestle boxer. His striking defense is a bit better than I expected, sitting at 66%. And I guess that's because he's moving out of the way of strikes pretty well, right? And he does keep people moving backwards a lot because of his striking, which might make it hard for them to land their strikes oftentimes. Now, his offensive grappling, very good. He's very good at taking people down. Where he tends to struggle sometimes is the ground control, controlling people from top. Roberts, for one, was able to get up and not give up much control time, and that might be why Emeev ended up losing that fight. Now, the defensive grappling, it shouldn't matter here because I don't expect Maddalena to be the one trying to wrestle. But that said, Roberts, Stolze, Zawada, Sekulich, and Alberto Mina all got at least one takedown on Emeev. All right. So it's not impossible for Maddalena to get a takedown as well. But I just feel like Emeev's not going to be able to hold Jack down. Jack's going to be scrambling. Jack's not going to accept bottom position. There's no way. You want someone who's going to fight for your money? That's Jack. The dude's a fighter. Very high output. Very good combinations. Very big power. Good jab. Nice hooks. Nice 1-2. Good kicks. Good boxing in the pocket. Just all around, very good work on the feet. Very impressive. He's got 10 KO wins. He only got 1 KO loss. And I believe the first time he went to the decision was against Angelusa in the Contender Series where he won. So he's gone the distance. The cardio held up. And I'll say this. I like Maddalena to win. But as a bet, I liked him as the underdog, not as the favorite. You look at the line now, right? So Jack opened at plus 130, and now he's minus 151. That's steep, man. That's really steep. He's never fought anybody like Ramazan Emeev. He's never fought anyone as good as Ramazan Emeev. We're talking about a UFC vet here on the in regards to Ramazan, right? So in the UFC, he's had 7 fights. Jack's had 2. In their pro records, Emeev's had 25 fights. Jack's had 13. Cage time, 78 minutes for Jack, 263 minutes for Emeev. So you got a vet on one side, and you got someone who's relatively new still. And for someone who's new and green, Maddalena's showing a lot of promise. So I do like Maddalena to win. I think that if Emeev can't keep him down, I think he should be able to win the striking exchanges. Can he get a KO? It's hard for me to imagine, but it's not impossible. But I do just expect him to be better on the feet, and I think that Emeev is going to struggle to hold him down. But like I mentioned, I think it's a little crazy to have him as a minus 150 favorite. And personally, if I was coming into it now with these odds, I probably would bet Emeev at plus 130. You know, big UFC vet. He clearly has that grappling path. I just think it's silly to play Jack as a minus 150. I don't suggest to do that. I'm on Jack. I got him at plus 105. If the line ends up moving back the other way and you want to hop on with me, go ahead. I just personally don't suggest betting on minus 150 on Jack. I think that's too steep for somebody who's making a pretty big step up. But like I said, you know, I do get it. I get why people think he's going to win. Like I said, on the feet, he's definitely better. And I don't think Emeev's going to succeed in holding him down. So I do think Jack Della Maddalena wins this fight. And I am very excited for his career. He's a very exciting prospect, in my opinion. All right. So next one up, we've got Rogerio Bontorin versus Manel Kape. Bontorin, right? That Bontorin. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go with Rogerio because I feel like I'm butchering it. I'm a tired man. So Rogerio is 17-4-0. He's 30 years old, 5'5", with a 67-inch reach. And I do believe he's still training out of that camp. Let me just double check for you guys, as I like to do. Yeah, so I have him still training out of Gile Ribeiro team. And Manel Kape on the other side, although he used to train at AKA, I believe he's currently at Extreme Couture. It's interesting that he chose to move around, but I guess I get it. He needed to change the scenery. He didn't do too great in his first 2 UFC appearances, although I did think he beat Mateus Nicolau. So I do like that he decided to change his camp for a little bit and check it out somewhere else. Now, again, I feel like I'm saying this over and over and over again. This is another striker versus grappler matchup. I feel like the UFC really just wanted these kinds of matchups this week for some reason. And it's going to be super interesting. But one thing I want to mention first is guys like Manel Kape and Jiri, I feel like they're going to have a bit of an advantage here. Because even though like Kape's training in America, a lot of these guys showed up early to get it, you know, used to it, used to the time differences, used to everything. But Kape used to fight in Rizin. Like that was where he fought for the most part of his career. And he's used to fighting in that section of the world. So is Jiri. And I feel like those things, that's going to be an advantage for them. Bontorin, you know, I doubt that it's going to affect him too much. But, you know, this is a game of inches. So aside from that, though, Bontorin, in my opinion, is constantly overlooked. I bet him all the time when he's an underdog. I bet him against Royval, and I thought that he beat Royval again. Biased, but I really thought that he beat him there. I thought he did. I thought he did enough. He beat Matt Schnell. The fight no longer stands as a win because he popped for something. I'm not exactly sure what it was that he popped for. I think it's hilarious also though, because Kape also popped recently, and he can't fight in Vegas, but he's got this loophole of Singapore, which is comedy to me. But anyways, I just feel that Bontorin's going to have a hard time getting Kape down. This isn't Brandon Royval, right? Brandon Royval kind of accepts getting taken down sometimes because he likes to work off his back. He loves to work on the ground. He's extremely dangerous there. We just saw him finish Matt Schnell off the ground. So I see the wrestling. He was definitely able to implement it there. Michael Lehrer saying weed. Not sure what he means. If I seem high, I suppose I very well might be, but not sure what he's talking about. But anyways, so yeah, I think that Manel Kape is just going to win this fight on the feet. I think that Bontorin is going to struggle to get him down. I think even if he's able to get him down, I don't expect him to be able to hold him down. Kape sitting with an 80% takedown defense over, 4 UFC fights now. He's fought 2 good wrestlers in Zalgas, but Zalgas didn't get a chance really. And then the other good wrestler, Nicolau, in my opinion. Oh, I'm an idiot. Michael saying that he popped for weed, did Bontorin. Well, then, I hate when they take their wins for weed. I feel like if somebody wins a fight and they were high, you should give them 2 wins, not take it away. It's harder to win that way rather than like it's not easy. You don't get any kind of benefit for a fight from smoking weed. Have you ever even seen 2 high people fighting? Like, it's not even something that happens. So just saying, ridiculous. But anyways, I feel that if Bontorin can't get this to the ground, and if he can't control Kape, which I don't think he can, I think he might be in trouble. I think it's going to be hard for him in the stand-up. We saw him get chin-checked by Kai Kara France, and I think that Kape hits just as hard, if not harder. Kape's got insane hand speed. His striking is very, very, very good and crisp. Keeps everything straight. Great combinations. Cuts the cage very nicely, like I was talking about earlier with Andre Fialho. My one concern is his lack of urgency and his lack of output. Kind of reminds you of like Peter Yan, where they'll lose round 1 almost every single time. And it's just like, why? Why are you losing round 1? Just like start. I feel like certain guys like that, like Kape, Peter Yan, they would benefit from having a fight before the fight, right? Just to kind of warm themselves up. But as long as he comes out here with that urgency that he's had in his last few, I really don't think this should be that hard of a fight for Kape to win. I think that on the ground, Bontorin's got a distinct advantage. I'm just not sure that he can hold Kape down. I think that Kape should be able to get back up, just like he did against Matheus Nicolau. And I feel like he should be able to win this fight. So definitely give me Kape. Do I want to bet the KO? Not really. I think he can get the KO. The odds aren't juicy enough for me. If you know me, I need my plus 400s, plus 1000s, but I do think he can get a KO. I do have 2 units on Kape. I've got him in 3 parlays. I'll read those off to you guys when we finish up the show. But yeah, I do like Manel Kape to win the fight. Moving right along. All right, so now we're up to the fights that everybody wanted to talk about. So the rematch we've all been waiting for, and the woman we've got questions about in JJ. So Weili Zhang versus Joanna. Man, I can't say her last name. I'm going to be calling her JJ. So Weili is 21, 3-0. She's 32 years old, 5'4" with a 63-inch reach. And she's currently training somewhere in China. I believe it's called Bang Tao Muay Thai MMA. And I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's not China. It's Thailand. I do apologize for that. And then JJ on the other side, 16, 4-0. She's 34 years old, 5'6", so she's 2 inches taller, 65.5-inch reach. So she's got 2.5 inches in reach. And she trains out of American Top Team. We all know what that place is. Fantastic super camp. So this one's interesting because we haven't seen JJ since her last fight with Weili. I guess she took off. I'm not exactly sure why it took so long. But you know, when you have a fight like that where you come out of it looking like a completely different person, it makes sense to take a long time off. What it makes me think of is Brian Ortega, right? So Brian Ortega had his fight with Max, got the living daylights beaten out of him, disappears for 2 years, comes back and puts on a striking clinic against the Korean Zombie, right? What's to say that JJ can't come back and be a completely different woman, even more improved than she already was? I mean, we're talking about someone who wasn't bad before, someone who was a champion, someone who was very impressive, and someone who arguably could have won that Weili Zhang fight if not for the damage. We know that judges do score damage, and that's a very important criteria, so I get it. And nobody can ever yell robbery from that fight, never. I think that's a ridiculous statement. But it was a very close fight. And if JJ went out and came back with improvements, you know, it could be a different result. Weili, on the other hand, she's had, I want to say 3 fights since. No, she's had 2 fights since, both of them with Rose. And I'll say this, I don't think that she's changed that much. She's done these camp changes. She spent time at a Fight Ready. But I feel like she hasn't changed that much. Maybe she leans on the grappling a bit more. She definitely tried it with Rose. But is she going to be pulling grappling on Joanna? I don't really know. Joanna's got an 81.54% takedown defense over 14 UFC fights. You know, that's a really good sample size and a really good takedown defense. The levels of competition, you know, close, but you got JJ also fighting people like Shevchenko as well, on top of everybody that Weili's fought. But I feel like it's close, the levels of competition. So anyways, in terms of how this actual fight will go down, I expect it to be extremely similar to the last one, except just 3 rounds instead of 5. I am curious how that's going to go, because that damage added up over 5 rounds, right? And if we think that the damage is what gave the victory to Weili, what if she's only got 3 to work? She's a smaller woman. She's given up a bit of size to Joanna. Joanna's got fantastic striking herself. So I don't know. Personally, I'm kind of leaning JJ here. I do get why people are on the side of Weili. I think that the technical striking, I guess you could give to her, but like, I'm not sold. You know, I'm like saying this, but I'm like hesitant to actually say it because I'm not sold. I think that on the feet, it's going to be super close. I guess the ground advantage will go to Weili, but can she get it there? Can she hold it down there? I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced. In terms of control time, you know, Joanna has given up a good amount of control time, 7% 420 against, whereas Weili's got 18% 4 and 7 against. So, like I said, the grappling edge definitely goes to Weili, but I can't give her the striking edge. I think it's too close on the feet. And you're giving me Joanna plus 140. It's the ultimate gamble, right? You're literally, if you're betting this fight, you're gambling because you don't know what Joanna actually looks like. Nobody can go into this and be like, I know the result, because we don't know what JJ is going to come out here looking like. Korean Zombie was like a minus 240 favorite against Ortega, something like that. And look what happened. So I'm not saying Joanna's a lock. I'm not saying Joanna's going to win this by a landslide. I just think it's going to be a super close fight. I think we've had 2 years away from JJ, and I think she might come back even more improved. And it's just a lot of mites. So I'm keeping it at 1 unit, but definitely give me the dog plus 140. I think that JJ is just as good on the feet as Weili is. The power advantage goes to Weili. Grappling probably goes to Weili. But I don't think that the striking goes to Weili. I think it's either even or maybe slight edge to JJ. So give me JJ at plus 140. I don't like any props. I don't like anything else. I'm not hammering this. I just think that at plus 140, JJ's aside. Weili's sitting at, what is it? Minus 160, minus 165. I'm not comfortable playing that straight. I'm not comfortable parlaying that. The smartest move is probably not doing anything here. That's probably the smartest move when you got a fighter coming off a 2-year layoff. But here on the Couch Warrior podcast, we don't do what's smart. We do what's fun. I mean, we try to be smart too. But yeah, so we're going to be betting JJ. I'm willing to take the gamble for 1 unit. I really do think that she's, rather than coming in here with ring rust, I think she's going to come in here more like a Brian Ortega, 2 years off, come back an even better version of yourself. And hopefully we can see her challenge Carla Esparza next. But I'm down to see Weili fight hers too. So Either way, give me JJ plus 140, 1 unit, and let's go to the first title fight of the night. All right, guys, so we got, I was going to say 4 live viewers, but somebody just dipped on me. So we've got 3 live viewers. Thank you all very, very, very much for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you very much. I put a lot of effort into this show, so it feels very nice having people come and watch me and talk to me as we go through it. So cheers to you guys. Cheers to the shows. Cheers to the UFC for putting on a bunch of good fights for us. Let's get it. So here we've got Valentina Shevchenko, one of the greatest women fighters of all time, if not the greatest. I'll say this now. In my opinion, she won that second fight with Nunes, all right? She won that fight. But let's not get into it. So Shevchenko is 22-3-0. She's 34 years old, 5'5" with a 65.5-inch reach. And is she still at Tiger Muay Thai? I'm not positive about that, but I don't have anything else. So we're going to go with Tiger Muay Thai right now. I do know that's where she primarily trains, so hopefully she's still there. And then on the other side, we've got one of the more exciting prospects in the weight class right now, and definitely, in my opinion, the toughest challenge Shevchenko's had in a minute. So Santos is 19-1-0, very shiny, nice record. 28 years old, 5'6", 68-inch reach, and she's training out of Thai, Brazil, Floripa. So, look, already Santos has all the measurables. 6 years younger, an inch taller, 2-inch reach advantage. So she's got the size, right? But does she have the physicality? It's a good question. I mean, it's hard to tell, but I got to lean no, right? I do think that Shevchenko's probably the stronger woman. The one thing that I guess gives me pause is Shevchenko did get held down and taken down by Jennifer Maia, which is not a great look because Jennifer Maia doesn't even wrestle most of the time. And we have seen Santos be very dominant with the grappling. When she goes for it, she goes for it. We've seen, for example, when she fought, what's her name? Roxanne Modafferi. Roxanne's beaten so many prospects who were supposed to beat her. Santos, not even close. Santos smoked her, right? She's really good at grappling. She's got great top control, good takedown entries. Pull up the numbers real quick for you guys. So let's see. Control time for Tyler Santos, 42% for, 13% against. Meanwhile, on the other side for Shevchenko, we got 32% control time for and 13% control time against. Now, the takedown defense, right? Another really nice number over here for Tyler, 88.89%. But that's also over a fairly small sample size. And we're talking about Joanne Calderwood, Roxanne, Jillian Robertson, Molly McCann, and Romero Barella, who ended up beating her, right? So, while that's a great takedown defense number, against who is the question, right? Shevchenko, on the other hand, 13 fights in the UFC against the best of the best, and she's holding a 77.42 takedown defense. So, I do think that Tyla is live to get some takedowns, but is she going to control Shevchenko? I really don't think so. Is she better on the feet than Shevchenko? I really don't think so. I think more than likely we maybe have a close first round. Maybe Tyla picks up one round. Maybe it's a good live betting opportunity like the Jennifer Maia fight. But I just think that Shevchenko covers her everywhere. I think Shevchenko gets another finish. I think it's going to be late. So I do have some juicy props over there for that. But my main bet on this fight is Shevchenko inside the distance. I think that she can take down Santos as well. I think that she can control Santos as well. And while I don't see a submission happening, I do kind of see ground and pound happening. And I'm going to pull Mystic Mac. I'm feeling a crucifix. I'm feeling a crucifix finish. I know she just did one of those not too long ago. I don't remember exactly which fight it was, whether it was Lauren Murphy or Jessica Andrade. But I do think that she wins. I think she wins inside the distance. So give me Shevchenko. I'm not going to spend too much time explaining to you why a minus 600, one of the greatest of all time, should win. So we'll move right on. All right. So the fight everybody's hyped for, that fight I'm super hyped for, the main event of the evening. Let's break this thing down. So here we've got Glover Teixeira versus Jiri Prochazka. Glover is 33-7-0. He's 42 years old, 6'2", 76-inch reach, and he's training out of his own gym, Teixeira MMA and Fitness. Sorry, pulling up Jiri's stuff real quick. On the other side, you got Jiri Prochazka, 28-3-1. He's 29 years old, 6'3" with an 80-inch reach. So he's got 1 inch in height, 4 inches in reach, and he trains at a Jet Sam Gym Brino. I don't exactly know how to pronounce that. I tried to get confirmation on Instagram and was not able to, so we're going to have to go with that. Now, this one's interesting. This one's very interesting, and for a few reasons, right? First of all, Prochazka does have a sub loss. It's one, and it's a long time ago, but worth noting. That said, he's got 19 wins by KO, only been KO'd once himself. On the other side, Teixeira, you look at it, he's got 9 KOs, but he's been KO'd 3 times. And then he's got 9 sub wins of his own. The story with Glover is the same every single time, except his last one. In the last one, he went out there and he just beat Yan. He just beat him. There was no doubt, nothing. Like, he just beat him clean. In my opinion, Yan looked really off. He did not look like himself even a little bit. It didn't even look like he really fought the rear naked once it was in. And in a rematch, I do think it would probably go different, but tons of props to Glover, right? But most of the time, what happens in a Glover fight, he gets rocked, he gets injured, the opponent comes rushing in, and then he submits them, right? So the question here is, if Jiri can hurt Glover, can he finish him without getting submitted? I think the answer is more than likely yes. I think that Glover's probably already reached the height of his career, and I don't see him defending for too much longer. Maybe he defends here, because look, while Jiri is awesome, the striking is fantastic, extremely creative, powerful, great output, just so good. Like, it's so good. He mixes up targets so well. He's throwing great kicks, good front kicks, his elbows, the knees, just every move he does is so good. It winds up for the strikes, but he's like not really leaving himself defensively vulnerable too often, even though I would say that his striking defense could be better. I will say that. It's sitting at 48%, which is not a number I love. Glover on the other side has got a better one at almost 54% over. We're talking how many UFC fights? 21 UFC fights for Glover, 2 for Jiri. So Glover's also got that vet advantage here. I think, like everybody knows, obviously the lock is the fight doesn't go the distance at like minus 500. But that's unbettable. I got the under 3.5 parlayed. It's like minus 300. You can get a minus 275. I plan on using the under 4.5 as a parlay piece too. I was tempted to play the under 2.5, but weird things happen in MMA, you know? So it's like, do I want to lay chalk for that kind of thing? Nah, not really. So I don't expect this fight to even enter the 3rd round, though. I really don't. But weirder things have happened, right? But this is super straightforward. Grappler versus striker. I do think that Jiri wins this thing. But as we've seen even in Rizin, if you put him against the fence, if you put him against the ropes, if you put on the pressure against him, he can struggle. He can. And even against Dominic Reyes, like, he looked good and he was winning that fight. But he had moments. He had moments where he didn't look great and where he could have lost that fight. I don't know if people remember, but he low-key got KO'd in the Reyes fight, right? If you watch it, when Reyes was on the ground and Reyes upkicked him, got KO'd. He fell on top of Reyes, and he even admitted it later. He's like, bro, I got finished. He's like, I just like woke up and started hitting him again. And you watch the fight, that's literally what happened. He fell on top of Reyes. The fight didn't end because it looked like he was just on top. And then he woke up enough to start letting it rip, and it was okay. But just shows that he can be defensively liable. He can make mistakes, and he's not perfect. He is also very young still, 29 years old. But I do think that more than likely Jiri does win. I think minus 200 is getting a bit steep already. And I also don't think there's much value in him by KO at this point. What is it? Minus 160. I mean, you can get it for minus 135. I guess there's a tiny bit of value there, but not really, right? Not really. Like, yeah, I get it. He's not going to win by a sub, and it probably doesn't go to decision. But like I said, weirder things have happened in MMA, and to bet minus 135 on a prop, it doesn't seem right. But I guess, it's his one path. So if you really do think that Jiri wins, that's the move. I'm not really going too heavy on either side. I have just one unit on Jiri. I got it so long ago. Months and months and months. I got it at minus 165. I have it tracked on BetMMA as minus 180 because the website only allows you to enter the odds that are available when they put up the fight. So I had to put 180. But I got minus 165, which I thought was fantastic. Now that we're at minus 200, that's getting a bit wide for me. I think it's going to be close. I feel like just parlay some kind of violence on this fight and call it a day rather than picking a side. I obviously can't blame anyone for betting Teixeira by submission. That's what he does. I just feel like Jiri really should win this, right? He really, really should. It's a matter of, can he keep himself up on the feet once Glover closes the distance? Because it's not a question of if Glover closes the distance. It's a question of when. And it's probably going to be early. So I do think Jiri wins. So give me Jiri to win the fight. But I don't have the utmost confidence. I don't think anybody should be out here parlaying Jiri all over the place. I don't think that's the move. So, yeah. All right. That's it. We just broke through a card, 12 fights, got it over in just over an hour. And let's just run through my bets real quick, and I'll get you guys out of here. Tomorrow I'll do the fantasy show. Like I mentioned before, Thursday on the MMA Engine, Lou Betcha and I will be coming back for our Bet Elevator show. If you haven't seen it yet, check us out. It's a very different kind of show than usual. We don't just handicap fights. We pretty much bet between ourselves for... It's not betting so much, but we compete for who's going to bet the higher odds props or whatever on a fight. So say like for the Bontorin Kape fight, I might come in and start and say, all right, give me Kape money line. And then Lou will be like, all right, give me Kape KO. And I'll be like, okay, I'll go with Kape KO round 2. And the trick is whoever ends up with the higher one after the other one taps out has to play it. So you can't just be like, oh, Kape round 3 submission plus 5,000. Nah, you got to play it too. So it's a really fun show. Definitely check us out on the MMA Engine on Thursday at 8:30. We've officially moved it from Fridays. And all right, so let's go through my picks real quick and we'll get out of here. So Jiri Prochazka, 1 unit at minus 165, but it's tracked at minus 185 because of what I explained. Valentina Shevchenko. Oh my gosh. I need to email them. I by accident put this as money line. I really wish they would just let us edit on this site ourselves. All right, I'm going to have to email them. But anyways, moving on. JJ, plus 141 unit. Jack Della, I got him at plus 105, 1 unit. I don't think it's wise to bet him now. Brendan Allen, minus 220, 2.2 units. Jake Matthews, plus 125, 2 units. Kyung Kang, plus 129, 2 units. Na Liang, I've got her at plus 142 for 1.2 units. And then at plus 152 for 0.8, so total stake of 2 units. And then I've got Joselyne Edwards at minus 138 for 2 units as well. And then for props and parlays, we've got Liang inside the distance. It was such a stupid bet. I didn't catch the odds. I really should have paid more attention, but I got a half unit on that. I played Edwards by KO for 0.125 units. Allen inside the distance, half a unit at plus 105. Allen by sub plus 200 for 0.1 unit. Excuse me. Santos by decision as a tiny little hedge. 0.1 unit at plus 1100. Shevchenko inside the distance plus 125 for 1 unit. And then I got a parlay with Seung, Choi, and Allen, 1.1 units. Prochazka by KO in round 3 for plus 1,000, 0.1 unit. Prochazka round 4 KO, 0.1 unit at plus 1,800. Jake Matthews by KO, plus 1,100, 0.3 units. Matthews and JJ parlay, got it for plus 440, just a little quarter unit sprinkle. Thought it was a fun little parlay. Shevchenko in round 4 plus 1800.1 unit. Shevchenko round 5 plus 2500.1 unit. And then KO in round 5 for Shevchenko plus 4500.1 unit. And then her KO in round 4 plus 3100.1 unit. And I actually love those spots, man, because I do think she wins inside the distance, but Tyler's tough. So I think it's going to take time. Tyler's never been in the champ rounds. So I really like round 4 and 5, and particularly the KO for those numbers. But that's just for that. Moving on. Then I got a parlay with the Glover Jiri fight under 3.5 rounds, Shevchenko money line, and Allen money line. That parlay came out to plus 113 on DraftKings, and I staked 0.292 units there. Then I got Seung Choi parlayed with the Glover Jiri under 3.5, minus 104 for a half unit. I got a sprinkle on Jack Della in round 3 for plus 1100, just 0.1 unit. I got a sprinkle on Matthews by TKO or KO in round 3 for plus 3,500.1 unit. I got the Edwards Pascual fight, doesn't go the distance, plus 155 for a half unit. I've got Garcia parlayed with Allen for a full unit at plus 112. I've got Garcia Shevchenko money line, and the Glover fight doesn't go the distance, parlayed plus 121 for a half unit. And then I've got Manel Kape parlayed with the Jiri Glover fight doesn't go at minus 139 for 1 unit. I got Seung Choi parlayed with Kape plus 103 for a half unit. And then I've got Manel Kape and Shevchenko parlayed at minus 151 for a half unit. And that's it. Those are my bets. Quite a slate. I probably won't be adding anything else, though. And yeah, I'm hyped for the card. Thank you guys for tuning in. See some of you tomorrow. Hopefully more of you on Thursday for the Bet Elevator. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a fantastic night and have a good one.